Hello and welcome to the Cardinal Network, the official online platform for covering all things related to Pawnton Lakes High School and beyond. My name is Jenna Cheriak, and today we are extremely fortunate to be spending time with Mr. Jay Della Valle, a New York University alumnus, American filmmaker, philanthropist, recording artist, and singer and songwriter. Welcome to the Cardinal Network, Mr. Della Valle.
Hey guys, hey Jenna, thanks for having me on.
Hi Jay, I'm Madison, and as an alumnus of New York University, what made you choose NYU and pursue a degree in theater and film?
Well, I didn't actually choose that first. I just chose, I was trying, like anybody who's a senior in high school, trying to figure out where they want to go to college. I was trying to figure that even out earlier, but when it came time to applying to schools, I had visited a friend in NYU in my junior year of high school, and I had a good time, and I thought, maybe I could do college in New York City, but I wasn't completely sold on it. So I applied to other schools, Boston, Wisconsin, and I got into NYU first. And that made me feel good because I knew I got in somewhere, and I definitely had someplace that wanted me. And then I started to get a couple other colleges that I could have gone to, and I just had to make a decision. And the reason I chose to go to NYU, one of the reasons was because I, at that time, was already gigging a lot and DJing in the New York, New Jersey area. So staying close to New Jersey was a way I could go to college, live in the city, and kind of still stay close enough to home, still run the business that I had already started, the DJ business that I had, and pretty much get a head start on my career without going away. I could be in college in the city and make contacts and gig. And going to college at NYU was really kind of you felt you were getting a head start in your career at the same time, because you were in New York City and you were doing everything amidst, you were going to college amidst all the other professionals and people that lived in New York City. So I ultimately decided that I wanted to just kind of, get things going and stay close to home, so I could just really be in the place where things happen.
Yeah,
it's not over yet. So I decided to. Sorry, I cut that short. So I didn't know that I wanted to do film and theater in college. It's expensive college, and I didn't know necessarily I wanted to do that at that point. So I applied to NYU into a liberal arts program, and that's what I got into. And I had a couple of years to study certain things and kind of figure out really what I wanted to study. And it was in those years that I realized that I wanted to focus on certain things related to film and music. And then I transferred into another school at NYU, and that's where I focused on the kinds of things that I ended up really doing after college.
Nice. And was there a particular movie, producer, or director who inspired your work in film when you chose it? If so, who or what influenced you in what way?
My favorite movie of all time is Back to the Future. And the guy who directed Back to the Future, Robert Zemeckis, he also directed Forrest Gump. Probably my favorite big director for obvious reasons. He's awesome, and he tells an amazing stories and fantasy. He influenced me a lot. I knew, man, I want to be able to tell stories in a way that makes me feel the way this guy makes me feel, his kinds of stories. I also love the work of Michel Gondry and Spike Jonze and Charlie Kaufman. These guys, Charlie Kaufman wrote Eternal Sunshine, The Spotless Mind. Michel Gondry directed that, and The Science of Sleep. And these are very existential filmmakers who delve a lot into the imagination and get really crafty. They substitute high production value for very crafty things that kind of break the wall of just having, instead of a real car, they have a cardboard car, and it's meant to look like it's something in a dream or something. I really appreciate filmmakers like that. And I also like John Carney, who did Begin Again and Once, and who does movies with like musical themes. All these directors really, these are just some of the directors that influenced me and who I felt like, I could do this. I want to do this, and I want to tell stories and make music videos and create content that has this kind of a sensibility.
Nice. And in addition to your content creating, filmmaking, you also have appeared on reality television, most notably Miami Ink. How did this experience arise and influence your career?
It didn't influence my career at all. It was just a happenstance thing where I was dating a girl at the time who out to dinner one night introduced me to her friend who was a producer for that show, and she was asking me questions about my tattoos, and I didn't know that she was a producer of that show. And then she asked me if I had any ideas for my next tattoo, and I told her my idea, and then she told me that she was the producer for Miami Ink, and how would I like to go to Miami and have this one particular tattoo artist give me this tattoo. And I gave her my number, and she followed up with me, and the next thing I knew, I was headed down to Miami to get that tattoo. And it was, it was a day. It was a day getting this tattoo, experiencing what it was like to work on a reality show set. It wasn't fun. But the tattoo came out great.
That's good. On a more fun note, in 2006, you started to film. Oh, that's a nice one. Nice. So you started to film your acclaimed documentary, The Glorious Mustache Challenge, which dared a handful of friends to grow a mustache and not shave for a whole month. Can you elaborate on this film as a whole and tell us what inspired you to make a movie about such a unique topic?
Again, something that just kind of happened, in a sense that before I decided to, I had the idea to make the Glorious Mustache movie. I had made another short film that was really bad, and I was low. I spent a lot of money on doing something that I didn't feel great about, and I wasn't comfortable. I think right after that, I grew a mustache as a response, and it made me feel better. And I kept that mustache on, and a lot of people told me to shave it. They were serious, they threatened me. They said, "You better shave that mustache." Other people loved it and told me I should keep it. Someone told me I should, make a documentary. A friend of mine said, "You should make a documentary about the mustache." That kind of stuck in my mind. And then there was a point at which I called a friend of mine who was in college at William Patterson at the time, who was a filmmaker. And I told him, I said, do you want to make a movie about mustaches? And he said, "Sure. What do you have in mind?" And I said, "Well, let's challenge all the funny, interesting guys that we know to no one had mustaches at this point. It was 2003, 2004, before all the mustache craze. Now hipsters have mustaches. That hadn't happened yet. So we were really on the cutting edge. Movember hadn't happened yet. My friend was in, and we called up all the funny guys that we knew would kind of make this experiment fun. So it wasn't even going to be a movie. It's going to be like a social experiment that we would film, and it would just create fun content. And next thing we know, we had about 30 guys that agreed to grow this mustache and allow us to chronicle the process. And we did so well. We got such funny footage from this experiment that, and we started to generate press and get on television. We hadn't even made the movie yet. And we had so many people doing it that they were all telling everybody this wildfire news of this guy making a documentary about mustaches started to get out. I think in one day I had a call from like Geraldo's people, Good Morning America, and the Today Show, and all in one day. Like I had this, my ego was like for one day, it was like all these people wanted to cover the Glorious Mustache, because at that time, what was in the news was very heavy. And this was so hilarious and like off the cuff that people were just like, we need that. We need something to just lighten things up. So next thing you know, I'm on television talking about a movie that I haven't even finished yet, that I didn't even know that it was going to be a movie. So I knew I got to make this good. I have to expand on this more. So, we put a lot more time and energy into expanding the concept and creating what is now the movie. And, a documentary is like, you never really know what's when you have a documentary that involves an experiment, you never really know how it's going to end up. You're kind of on this, on this joyride. And at that time, and the consciousness of the mustache was just really rapidly growing, no pun intended. And I just was kind of surfing that wave, and it influenced the rest of my life. I mean, I became the mustache guy, and I traveled all around the country hosting mustache parties, even after the movie was made. And I met some amazing people that I'm some of my closest friends today that I met during that time. And it set me up to do a lot of other things, for sure. Did I answer your question?
Hi, Jay. I'm Stephanie. Not only did you compose music for Mount Joy, but you also starred in the movie. What is it like playing such a major role in a movie and then watch yourself in that movie once it is released?
It's freaking awesome. Mount Joy was the only feature film that I auditioned for that I got the starring role in. So, that rarely happens when you're not famous with a really good movie, unless you're really, really, really right for the role. Because there's just so much riding on the people that are investing in the movie. So I found out, I had pretty much put my acting on hold, but when I first found out about Mount Joy, I was on to musical ventures, and it was just, things were just taking me in a much more musical direction. I had recently gotten married, and I was about to have my first child, and I was just on a different tangent in life. And then I got a call from a friend who told me to check out the breakdowns, which are the listings in the acting world where they cast for things. And they said, there's this breakdown that's asking for you. You have to check it out. And I looked at it, and it's exactly what I am. Looking for a young 20s rock star type of, character with a chip on his shoulder type thing. Plays the guitar and sings, experience with fronting a rock band. I didn't have an agent at that point. So I just tracked down the director or the producer through a couple little pieces of information that I found. And I was able to send an email that got responded to me. And they called me in for an audition. And I went in and had an incredible audition and played the guitar and sang and went in with an amplifier and the guitar, and it went well. I got the role. And I was lucky enough that I got to not only act in the film, but also do all the music for the film and create a fictional rock band to support the main character who was, who the movie was about. So I got to do the acting, I got to do the music, I got to do stunts, and I got a real amazing opportunity to kind of be a movie star in an independent film. And it was surreal. It was surreal. Every bit of making it was surreal, and just everything leading up to when I would finally watch it. Coolest thing, dream come true.
And along with being a filmmaker, you're also known for your music career. What are some of the instruments you play, and what bands were you in or are currently in?
So I'm a singer, and I play guitar and ukulele. And when I was in college, I was in a band called the Offbeats with some friends from high school. And that was my first band. And then after that, I started writing music when I was 23, and I just started to do the singer-songwriter thing and play solo acoustic out in New York and just do that, put together a band, started to make records and produce music and put out my own music, and went through a rotation of a couple different bands as I kind of played all around and continued to make music and just live the life of a singer-songwriter, musician. for about 8 years before that kind of dwindled down, and I decided to start a band with a girl who was my then violinist, keyboardist in my rock band. We started a duo called Owls and Lions. And for the past 8 years, that's been my band. And we play like indie folk, Lumineers-esque, Civil Wars-esque indie folk. We're just an acoustic guitar, violin duo that sometimes is a trio and a quartet. And it's, we're playing like the indie folk pop realm. And that's my band now. And I also do the solo thing again now that this pandemic has made it hard to be with other people for a while.
And when it comes to your love of music, who were your greatest inspirations and how did it influence or inspire you?
Well, my dad is a huge inspiration of mine. My dad, is an incredible entertainer. His influence throughout my whole life, like, really kind of plays out in me as just someone who is always just ready to just share and entertain and just bring a happy vibe into a room. And like, he never missed an opportunity to just entertain, and who's never shy about it. He never held it back. It was pick up guitar, go to a piano, and just start singing and playing. So that's how I am, and that's how my little 5-year-old and 7-year-old son and daughter starting to be like that. That's just probably the biggest imprint on me has been from my dad in that way. But my dad was an entertainer and a musician. What he wasn't was a songwriter. So for different things, I've kind of have different influences. And when it comes to songwriting, I tend to gravitate towards men and women and artists who really do a good job of translating who they are to their songs in a compelling way. Bruce Springsteen is a huge, huge influence of mine in the way that he does this so well. And I love the Eagles, Don Henley. I love Coldplay. And I mean, there's just so, my influences come from so many different places, but those are examples of certain artists that I really enjoy and find myself, continually being influenced by the more I listen to them.
And looking back at your career, what project, film or music, are you most proud of and why?
Very hard question to answer, because I feel like I'm like asking me which of my kids I like more. But I thought about this, and the answer, it would definitely be Glorious Mustache. I'm proud of, particularly because I followed through with it. The first movie that I did, I had the idea, I followed through with it at a time where just a lot of things I was trying to do, and had I never followed through with it, I would have always regretted it. And it was hard, and it was so many aspects to it. And I eventually distributed it myself and really did everything myself, which gave me a great education in all the aspects of like putting it, making a movie and putting it out. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of Mount Joy for another reason, because, I didn't make that movie. I got cast in that movie, but I did the music and I did the acting, and I managed to kind of hold it all together with my talents and make that into something that I was proud of from all angles. So movie-wise, those are really the two that I had the most control over. So they are the two I was most proud of. And with regards to music, it's just, there is no one I'm most proud of necessarily. Like they all happened at completely different times in my life, and there's all redeeming qualities about the processes that led to each of them kind of coming, reaching fruition. They all took a lot. They all. It was nothing good comes from something that wasn't a struggle, I think. I poured a lot into those, and they're like chapters of my life. So that's that.
Hi, Jay. I'm Sarah. Let's switch
Hello.
gears for a minute here and talk about some of the charitable works you have done. One of the charities you are heavily involved in is the Ukulele Kids Club, an organization that donates ukuleles to hospitalized children and supports music therapy programs in children's hospitals worldwide. How did you get involved with this organization, and how have you contributed to it?
I got involved with it kind of. My dentist was best friends with the guy who started the charity, and I was my dentist and I are friends. And one day I was getting checkup, and he asked me if I played the ukulele, and I told him that I did mess around with the ukulele. And he started to while I was in the chair, he pulled up his phone and he showed me a TED talk, which was the story of the guy who started the Ukulele Kids Club, how he came to have a light bulb moment to start that charity. I was literally watching it while getting my teeth worked on. And as soon as I could talk, I said to him, I need to meet this man. And he connected me with the guy who started the charity. And that guy and I immediately hit it off. And, a few weeks later, we met in person, and I decided that I wanted to, have a big role in this charity. And from that point forward, I was helping to raise money and plan events for them, and helping to facilitate its growth over the past 4 years of, I think at the time when I got in, we'd gifted over 1,500 ukuleles to music therapy programs around the country. And now we've gifted over 8,000 to music therapy programs all over the world. We have 250 hospital affiliates that we work with and support specifically. And, the organization, it just continues every year to just really expand. And it's a big part of my life. And it's something that I'm going to see through till the end.
What does it mean to you to give back to others through charity works?
I mean, it seems kind of selfish not to have some means of helping others through what you do so well. And for a long time, I was always trying to integrate something into my work and my life's purpose that would kind of have a charitable aspect to it. When we did the Glorious Mustache, it's in the very beginning, through it, we started working with Movember and raising money for cancer and prostate cancer through like mustache contests and so forth. And that was very cool back then, very specific. After I kind of got out of that whole mustache thing, I was on the lookout trying to find the right organization that I could kind of sink my teeth in and really feel good about, because I wanted to have one specific one that I could really get involved with. And when you really believe in that one that you're working with, or whatever, if you work with a few and you could kind of attach your identity to it and like really not just work for it, but work with it, it brings a lot of substance to everything you do, and allows you to continually promote yourself in conjunction with that charity. I mean, I never miss an opportunity to create awareness of the charities that I believe in and want to support. So I think it's one of the most important things of everything that I do, to have that aspect.
Lastly, are there projects you are working on that you're excited about?
Since the pandemic happened and my life has shifted in quite a lot of ways, especially with my band, because I live in Montreal right now and my band lives in New Jersey. So we're all kind of trying to figure out how we're going to go about things. But I've revisited my solo material, and I'm just recorded some new songs and some new music videos, and I'm going to be just going back to doing things solo for a bit and just building that part of my repertoire again. And I'm just all about just using what's out there and shooting my own videos and creating just fun, interesting content to support the songs and finding my audience again with like a new solo career act. And really just, teaching my kids how to play music with this time that I have and passing on legacy to them, and just trying to just stay present and in the moment. And it's a lot. It's pretty challenging with the sudden influx of responsibility that comes with the pandemic, but just finding my way day by day here.
Now other members of our class will be asking you a few questions as well.
Okay.
Anyone have? Joe?
Thank you very much, sir, for being here. You spoke before about chapters of your life. You seem like a very well-rounded person. Was there anything you were involved in at a time where you kind of felt like, oh, this is it? Or do you feel like, it kind of just molds into everything is combined, where you feel that possibly there is something that you feel is the most important to you regarding your career? Or do you think everything is just molded into kind of one big career for you? You always want something new in your life.
It's a good question, because I've often been asked, like, well, if you had to choose between the acting or the film, the acting or the music, what would you choose? And it's very hard for me to always choose that, because I always looked at myself first and foremost as an entertainer. And regardless of, it was like whatever medium was that I needed to express myself in, with the one I would choose and focus my time on until I felt like the final product was, what I wanted to be putting out into the world. So sometimes that was musical, sometimes that was something that involved video. And, as I got, older and life got more challenging and complicated with family and so forth, I started to kind of, figure out more creative ways to combine them, because it was just too much trying to like do all different aspects of different things. It's like, all right, well, how can I satiate that part of me that wants to make film, and that part of me that wants to make music, and that part of me that wants to entertain? Like, how can I somehow pull it all together? So I'm like, I'm creating and, and feeling purposeful with what I'm doing. And, over the years, you start out not quite understanding like how many different directions you might one day have to go in just to get back to the original place that you thought. For an example, it's like how many times like you start out, I want to be an actor, and after a while you realize, wow, I may never get the acting role I want unless I write my own movie, because no one wants to give an inexperienced first-time actor that role. And you're like, wow, the only way I may get a chance to really stick my teeth into something like important is if I write it myself. So then you become a writer and a producer and all these other things, just so you can, at the end, go back to being an actor. And it's just a good example for like how many, how you gain experience when you really want it and you're willing to do anything to get it. You will come to a point where you're like, I'm going to have to put on a lot of different hats in order to manifest what I want. And you may never go back to be the first thing. You may find that you like other things more. You may be like, wow, I wanted to be an actor at first, but once I started writing, you may get your break in writing. You may get your break in directing, and then never go back to the acting, because you're like, I don't want to just be an actor who's told what to do. I want to be the one telling people what to do. I want it to be my vision. I don't want to be someone's pawn doing what they want. You never realize it until you just have to. You don't have to see this whole staircase to take the first step. I always say, just get busy, do it. You know what I mean? Just move forward a little bit, and don't think you have to like know where you want to go in order to like get going. So I always, found myself just trying to just move forward and hoping that I would just figure it out as I went. So to circle back to, your original question, it came down to whether or not what I wanted to do with the means, what I wanted to do was going to be the kind of thing that I wanted to put out. Was it worthy of my time? Was it worthy of my talent? Eventually you pass things through this lens and you have to be selective. And just trust that, one opportunity is going to lead to the next.
Very well said. I guess at the basis, we're all creators. You just got to take that leap and find and hone your craft, and someday you'll find where you like to be. Thank you. It's a privilege to talk.
Thanks,
to you.
man. Thank you.
That appears to be all the time we have for today. Before we go, on behalf of the Cardinal Network, we would like to thank Jay Della Valle for taking the time out of his schedule to be with us and answer our questions. Until next time, I'm Jenna Cheriak, signing off.